All right, so hey, welcome to this video. We're going to be talking about sums and differences of decimals today. And we'll just kind of dive in with a few reviews, right? We're talking about sums. We're talking about the answer to an addition problem. Addition problem. And with differences, we are talking about the answer to a subtraction problem. So really, all we are going to be talking about in here is how do we add and how do we subtract decimals? Right? How do we do that? That's what this video is about. It's no different than whole numbers, right? Because with whole numbers, it is this focus that we, focus on how we put together whole numbers as well. Man, I'm a little sloppy today. Excuse me. Let me fix all this. All right. Right. And if we were thinking about like whole numbers, when we add or subtract whole numbers, like the most important thing is our place values are lined up, right? Ones line up with ones, tens line up with tens, and hundreds line up with hundreds, or whatever I may have. It would not make sense for me to do like this to add my numbers together, right? Place values would not be added together. This is wrong. We don't want to do that. And decimals, it's no different. It's no different. So let's kind of just dive into sums first, right? Let's talk about the idea of addition of decimals. And before we do that, let's just do a quick review, right? You have already watched the other videos about decimal place values, so I'm not going to go in deep of this. And if you have not, you are going to stop this video now and proceed to watch the decimal place value video. Okay, so thinking about like place value and what decimals are, right? Over here, this other world of whole numbers, we have the ones. We know these ones. We've been doing these since we began in our journey as students. So the ones, tens, and the hundreds place. Place, right? And these are our what we call our whole numbers. There's all of them. Whole, meaning all of it. And then our decimals, these are these parts of whole numbers, right? So there's the tenths place, which has been discussed, tenths place, and there is the hundredths place, right? And again, we got to talk about like base 10 and the idea like a tenth is larger than a hundredth, and that is in the video if you're not sure why, right? So we're gonna be kind of thinking about that and like how we read decimals today. We'll loop that in. So like if I said this here, I have 3, and then the decimal says the word end. So 3 and then this is 81 hundredths. I just read the number and then I say the last place value, 3 and 81 hundredths, right? So this would be, let's just start. Let's start with 8 and 31 hundredths. We're going to add 5 and 29 hundredths, okay? So here we are. Here's a sum of a decimal, sums. So let's think about some steps here. First, we want to line up our place value. That's always the case. Always line up place values. So you can think about that as stacking. I'm going to do that here. I'm going to take 8 and 31 hundredths. I'm going to add 5, right? Because the 5 is in the ones place, so it goes under the 8. And 29 hundredths, right? And a cool way with decimals is just always keep your decimals lined up. Look how my decimals are just lined up right here, right? They're in the same place. They're lined up. Okay, so that's step 1. We're going to line up our place value. Step 2, we're going to add. Okay, and you always want to start all at the right, if you will. Like forever you've heard me say, always start in your ones place, always start in your ones place. And now I'm lying to you. Do not start in your ones place for this one, right? We actually want to start in the smallest place value that we have. And the smallest place value that we have is the hundredths place, okay? So you're always starting way over to your right. So we're not starting in the ones place for once, and we're just going to start in the hundredths place, and we're going to just do addition. We're just going to add because that's what it's asking us to do. So I'm just going to say 1 plus 9. Well, that's 10, right? Using that standard algorithm. I'm going to follow the same process. So I'm going to regroup and put a 1 over here. Let's get these guys out of here. That might be confusing. Okay, and then I'm just going to add over here in the tens. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is just going to get me 6. And then I'm going to go 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay, and then our last step, notice I didn't even really pay attention to the decimal, but that last step, yeah, drop your decimal. I don't mean drop it like You don't want it anymore, like get rid of it. But if you look, this decimal just goes straight down. It goes right down, and there's your answer. It's 13 and 60 hundredths. 13 and 60 hundredths. And that makes sense, like if you think about rounding, like think of this number. This is about 5, and this number is about 8. And when I add 8 plus 5, I get 13, right? Look at that, look at my whole number. So it's really just sums of decimals. So let's try another one. And of course, let's mix it up a little bit. What if we had 3 and 100th, and we're gonna add 76 hundredths. So again, steps, right? Step 1, stack them or line up your place values, however you want to say it. I'm going to use different terms there, meaning the same thing. So 3 and 100th. And again, I'm using the decimal to stack up. Notice where I'm putting these place values. This is the tenths place, so I put it with that tenths place. Okay, all right. Step 2, we're just going to add. I'm not even going to worry about the decimal right now. I'm just going to add. So start in your smallest place value. 1 plus 6 is 7. 0 plus 7 is 7. 3 plus 0 is 3. And our final, just drop that decimal. Drop the decimal. Again, I always say the decimal is so heavy, it just goes straight down. Boop. There's your answer, 3 and 77 hundredths. Okay, hope this is feeling comfortable. Let's just keep knocking away at it. This time, let's go with something like this, 8 tenths. So I don't even have any holes, I just have decimals. I'm gonna add 9 hundredths to that. Okay, same thing, right? This is what I love about like knowing a process and having steps. Just follow the steps. You get it, you'll get there, right? We're gonna stack. We're gonna stack by lining up the decimals, right? So here's 8 hundredths, or 8 tenths, excuse me. And then I'm gonna put my decimal underneath. And then this 0 is the ones place. This 0 is the tenths place. And this 0 is the hundredths place. Okay, now we add. Now here is one thing we can keep in mind, okay? And this will start to come up. I don't have digits in every place value. Like if you look over here in the hundreds, there's no digit here. But I can put a 0 in there if I would like, because that doesn't change the value. It's just a placeholder. So that could be helpful for me, right? And it's actually going to be very helpful for me as we probably get into subtraction. But now we're just going to go ahead and do the addition. So this is 0 plus 9 is 9. 8 plus 0 is 8. 0 plus 0 is 0. And what's our last step? Right? Just drop the decimal. Just drop it down. And there's our answer. 89 hundredths. Okay, so I'm gonna knock out one more addition, then we'll talk about subtraction. So we're gonna do this one real quick here. 99 hundredths. We're gonna add 2 and 86 hundredths. So stack, right? Stack them up, line up the place values. And in here I have no whole numbers, but over here I do, but that's okay because the 2 will go within the ones place. 86, okay. Now, no, hold on, let's add. And so that's gonna get me 15, 18, and 3. And then we're just going to drop the decimal. That's it. So that decimal comes straight down. And there's our answer, 3 and 85 hundredths. Okay, so we'll keep practicing this. I don't want you to panic if you're like, well, what's going on? But again, the great thing about this video is you can go back, pause it, go back, look at it, think of the steps, write down the steps, have them in front of you, and then try out the quizzes and things, right? So let's talk about differences. Oh gosh, let's talk about differences. So now we're just gonna turn around and we are going to subtract, right? So same thing, let's just start. I have 10 and 81 hundredths, and I'm gonna subtract 6 and 21 hundredths. Well, guess what? Steps are exactly the same. We're gonna stack. So let's do that. I'm gonna go 10 and 81 hundredths, and then again, I'm gonna use that decimal to help me. And this is the ones place, tenths place, ones place, okay? 2. Now step 2 is going to change a little bit because in this case we're not going to add, we're just going to subtract because that's what we're doing. We're finding differences. So now let's just subtract again, starting in your smallest place value. 1 minus 1, or 100th minus 100th, that's 0. 8 minus 2, that gets me 6. If I look in the ones place, I have 0. Remember, what's on top is what you have, and I want to take 6 away. Well, I can't do that, so that's where we're going to have to regroup. Right? That is the whole idea of decomposing. So we're going to break this 10 apart. We're going to turn it into 10 ones, or yeah, 10 ones. And now we got 10 minus 6 is 4. 0 minus 0 is still 0, so I'm good there. And here's our third and final step. Drop the decimal. So, thump, and there's our answer, 4 and 60 hundredths. So differences, you can see, like with sums and differences, it's just pay attention. Like step 1 and step 3 are the same. Step 2 is going to be like, am I adding or am I subtracting? So here we go, 3 and 9 hundredths. I'm going to subtract 95 hundredths from that. Okay, so repeat, 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 right? Let's stack them or line up our place values, however you want to say it. 3 and 9 hundredths and 0 and 95 hundredths. And we are subtracting. So that's step 2. Just remember to subtract. So we got to follow our rules of subtraction. Notice in most cases here, I just kind of ignore the decimal. I don't really think about place value here. Once my place values are lined up, I don't really think about it. I just kind of get to work, right? So starting our smallest place value over here, that's 9 minus 4, or 5, excuse me, gets me 4. Now remember, what's on top is what I have. I have 0, and I'm going to take away 9. Well, I can't do that. If you have $0, you cannot buy something for $9. So let's decompose. We're going to break this down, which means I'm getting 10 here. So 10 minus 9 now is 1. And 2 minus 0 gets me 2. And then third step, you know that decimal, boom, right? I'm just going to drop it. Drop it. And down comes the decimal. It just goes straight down. And that works because my place values are lined up. If my place values weren't lined up, that would not quite work because it could not drop straight down and I would have been wrong. So 2 and 14 hundredths, that's the difference between these two. Okay, this is great. Let's do one more. So we have 5 and 44 hundredths minus 3 and 81 hundredths. Okay, step 1, line up your place values. All right, so 5, same thing as stack. Just trying to like use different vocabulary because that will happen to us, right? Okay, step 2, we subtract. And you could use the model system for this if you want. That's fine. Just like build up a base 10 model and do it. And maybe I'll put up a video about that if people want that. Because that is just another way. I'm using standard algorithm today. So 4 minus 1 gets me 3. 4 minus 8, I can't do that. Right? Number on top is what I have. So let's decompose, which means I'm getting 10 more added over here. So now I have 14. So 14 minus 8 is 6. And 4 minus 3 is 1. And drop. So that decimal just goes straight down. And there it is. The answer is 1 and 63 hundredths. Okay, so that is the idea of sums and differences of decimals. Keep practicing them. Ask questions, post things. If you need more, ask for more, right? Like that's what Schoology is all about. Put the things in that you need. So our steps here were to stack place value. And then add or subtract, right? Depending on what they're asking us to do. And then 3, drop the decimal. Okay. All right, so keep it up. As always, thanks for being here. Thanks for the hard work. And we will see you at the very next meeting.